It was July of 2003, and we were driving home from my brother-in-law's place in Ohio, taking the Kessler Pike because the Atlas said it would save us 40 minutes over the interstate. I'm an appliance repair technician, so I notice machines. I don't notice people. That's my wife Carol's department. That night, it should have been mine. We'd left around 9, later than I wanted, because our daughter Meg, who was 15, couldn't find her disposable camera and refused to leave without it. Our son Danny was 17, home from his first year working summers at the hardware store. Quiet in that way 17-year-olds get when they think they're too old for family trips, but come anyway. The Kessler Pike wasn't a real interstate. It was an old regional tollway, 2 lanes in each direction, cutting through farmland that had gone dark an hour after sunset. The radio kept fading in and out. Danny had brought his portable disc player and a black case full of burned discs. Every so often, I could hear the tinny sound of music leaking through his headphones in the back seat. Around 11, the dashboard clock read 11:14 when we saw the first sign for the toll plaza. Toll plaza 3 miles, then toll plaza 1 mile. Then the road opened up into a wide concrete apron with 6 booths, and only one had its light on. "Guess we got lucky," I said. No line. Meg leaned forward between the seats. "Why are there people standing at the other booths if they're closed?" I looked. She was right. 2 men stood outside the dark booths, arms crossed, just watching the road. Not doing anything, just watching. "Probably waiting for their shift," Carol said. I pulled up to the open booth. The attendant was a heavy-set man in a reflective vest, maybe 50, with a clipboard tucked under one arm, even though there was nothing to write on a clipboard for a cash toll. He smiled at me the way a dentist smiles before he tells you something you don't want to hear. "Evening," he said. "Where you folks headed tonight?" It was a strange question. Toll booths don't usually ask that. I told him anyway. "Home, about 2 hours north." "Long drive with the kids," he said, and glanced past me into the back seat. Not a quick glance. A long one. Then he looked at Carol, then back at me. "That'll be $275. I paid him. He handed me a paper receipt, the kind that curls up on itself, and as I took it, his fingers brushed mine a half-second longer than they needed to. I told myself it was nothing. As we pulled away, Danny pulled one earbud out. "Dad, that guy at the second booth, he was writing something down when we went by." "Probably a maintenance log," I said. "There's nothing to log. The booth's closed." I checked the rearview mirror. The man Danny meant was still standing there, and yes, he had a small notepad, and he was writing in it, and his eyes were on our car, not the notepad. I told myself he was writing down a license plate for some ordinary bureaucratic reason. Toll roads track cash vehicles sometimes, I thought. I didn't actually know if that was true. I just needed it to be true. We drove for maybe 10 minutes before Carol said quietly, "Don't slow down, but I think that same green car has been behind us since the toll." I hadn't noticed a green car. Now I did. Headlights holding steady in my mirror, not gaining, not falling back, just there. "Lots of people use this road," I said. At midnight, I didn't have an answer for that. Then the road did something unexpected. A sign lit up in my headlights. "Road closed, 2 miles, detour ahead." There'd been nothing about a closure in the Atlas, obviously, since the Atlas was 2 years old. But there was something about the sign that bothered me. It was clean, not weathered like the permanent signs around it, like it had been put there recently. "Take the detour," Carol said. "What else are we going to do?" The detour looped us off the tollway onto a narrower 2-lane road with no streetlights, farmhouses dark on either side, and after about a mile, a single gas station glowing up ahead like the only lit window in a dark house. Fuel, food, restrooms. I pulled in without really deciding to. I just wanted to be somewhere with people who weren't watching us. The green car didn't follow us in. It kept going straight down the detour road. I watched its taillights shrink and told myself I felt relieved, and mostly I did. Inside, an older woman sat behind the counter reading a folded-up newspaper, a small television playing something I didn't recognize. I bought 4 sodas and a bag of pretzels I didn't want, mostly so I'd have a reason to talk to her. "You folks come off the pike?" she asked, before I'd said anything about where we'd come from. "How'd you know that?" She shrugged. "Everybody who comes in this late comes off the pike. Nothing else out here." She rang up the sodas. "They send you round on the detour?" "Yeah, road closed up ahead." She paused with her hand on the register. "Funny, my nephew drove that road 2 hours ago. Wasn't no closure then." I didn't know what to say to that. Carol, standing behind me with Meg, asked carefully, "Is there something wrong with that tollway?" The woman looked at the 3 of us for a second, like she was deciding something. "I don't know what's wrong with it," she said. "I just know my nephew won't drive it after dark no more. Says the same 3 fellas are always working, no matter what time he comes through. Like they never go home. Says one time they told him to pull off and wait in the lot because of a payment problem. And he did, and he sat there 40 minutes before he got spooked and just left. Never did figure out what the problem was." "Did anything happen to him?" I asked. "No," she said. "Nothing happened. That's what got him. Nothing happened. And it still scared him worse than if something had." Danny had wandered to the window and was staring out at the parking lot. "Dad," he said, not loudly, "there's a truck out there that was at the toll plaza. I remember the sticker on the back." I went and looked, a brown pickup. And yes, there was a faded orange bumper sticker for a county fair from a few years back. The kind of detail you wouldn't consciously register, but your brain files away anyway. It was parked at the edge of the lot, engine running, nobody visible inside from this angle. "Maybe it's someone else's truck," I said, but I didn't believe it, and Carol's face told me she didn't either. We paid and left quickly, all 4 of us moving a little faster than we needed to. As we crossed the lot to our car, the pickup's brake lights flashed once, then again. 2 short pulses in the dark, like a signal thrown down the road ahead of us to someone we couldn't see. Then it went dark and sat still, engine idling, and didn't follow. Before we pulled out, I glanced back at the gas station window. The old woman had come around the counter and was standing at the glass, watching our car the same way the tollman had. Not waving, not calling out a warning, just watching, like she was making sure we actually left. Back on the main road, I decided to skip the detour entirely and find our own way north, using the atlas instead of trusting whatever sign had told us the road was closed. Meg navigated with a flashlight and the folded paper map across her knees, calling out turns. About 2 miles out, Danny said, "Dad, slow down for a second," and pointed at a payphone bolted to a pole outside a boarded-up feed store. Nothing unusual about that, except the receiver was hanging loose, swinging slightly, like someone had just set it down and walked away. There was no wind that night. I remember that specifically because the corn in the fields on either side of us wasn't moving at all. "Somebody's out here," Carol said quietly. "Or somebody just left in a hurry," I said, and I didn't slow down to find out which. We tried my cousin's house on my flip phone, thinking we might swing by and wait out whatever was going on until morning, but the call wouldn't connect. No signal, 3 bars gone flat to nothing, which hadn't happened anywhere else on the trip. Carol tried hers too. Same thing. It was probably just the terrain, low hills swallowing the signal the way they sometimes did back then. That's what I told myself. But it felt, in that moment, like the whole stretch of road had been sealed off from the rest of the world, and we were the only 4 people moving through it. For a while it seemed to work. The road opened into farmland again, quiet, ordinary. Danny had his headphones back in. I was starting to breathe easier. Then Meg said very quietly, "Dad, don't panic, but I think that's the same road. We're back at the tollway." She was right. Whatever back route the atlas had shown us fed directly into the Kessler Pike, about a half mile past the plaza we'd already gone through. Meaning to keep heading north, We had no choice but to pass back by those same booths, going the opposite direction this time, on the far side of the median. As we came up on it, I slowed instinctively. The plaza looked the same single-lit booth, same heavy-set man. But now there were 3 men outside instead of 2, standing in a loose line, all facing our direction even though we were in the opposite lanes and owed no toll at all going this way. "They're not even collecting from us," Danny said. "Why are they just standing there?" I didn't answer. I kept my eyes forward and my foot steady, refusing to speed up in a way that would look like fear, refusing to slow down in a way that would look like an invitation. As we passed, the heavy-set attendant raised one hand, not a wave, more like an acknowledgement, the way you'd nod at someone you'd been expecting. Carol pressed her hand flat against the window without meaning to, some old instinct to shield the kids from something she couldn't name. None of them moved to follow us. None of them said anything we could hear. But as we passed the last booth, I saw the second man, the one who'd been writing earlier, turn his head slowly to track our car, the way a security camera turns, smooth and unhurried, like there was no reason to rush because he already knew exactly how this was going to go. He didn't stop watching until the median trees blocked his view. We just drove, and the plaza shrank in the mirror, and none of us spoke for almost 10 minutes. Somewhere in that silence, Danny leaned forward from the back seat. "I counted them," he said. Going in, there were 2 guys standing outside the booths. Coming back, there were 3. But I only ever saw one guy actually working the register both times. Nobody had an answer for him. I watched the odometer instead of looking in the mirror again, because some part of me didn't want to know if anything was still back there. It was Meg who finally broke the silence. "Dad, that receipt he gave you, can I see it?" I found it in the cup holder, still curled. She unrolled it under the dome light and went quiet. "What?" I said. She turned it around so I could see, glancing quick between the road and the paper. Beneath the toll amount, hand-printed in the margin in blue pen, someone had written 4 digits, 0004. Nobody said anything for a second. Then Meg's voice came out smaller than I'd heard it all night. "Dad, there's 4 of us in this car." I told her it was probably a batch number, a shift count, anything. I didn't believe myself while I said it, and neither did she. We didn't stop again until we crossed into our home county around 2 in the morning, gas gauge lower than I liked, all of us wired and exhausted in that particular way where your body wants sleep and your mind refuses to let go of alertness. Nobody followed us home. Nothing else happened that night. That's the part that still sits wrong with me. Nothing happened. We were never chased, never threatened, never touched. We were only watched, counted, and delayed on a piece of paper we still have, folded now in an envelope in my desk drawer. 2 years later, business took me back through that part of the state, and out of some need I still can't fully explain, I drove the Kessler Pike again in daylight. The tollway was gone, torn up, the booths demolished, a construction sign announcing a new overpass where the plaza used to be. I stopped at the same gas station and asked the same woman, older now, what had happened to it. She remembered it fine, said it had never been a state-run plaza at all. Some small private contractor had held the toll concession on that stretch for a few years before the county finally bought the road out and tore the whole thing down. They had all kinds of trouble with that outfit toward the end, she said. County came around asking questions about men working out there who weren't on any payroll paperwork anywhere. I don't know what that was about. I just know they shut it down fast, and folks around here don't talk much about the men who used to work it. I told her about the receipt, about the numbers, about that night. She went quiet for a moment, the way people do when they've heard something before and would rather not say so. "A young couple came through a few years before you, told me near enough the same story," she said. I stopped asking why a long time ago. Some things you just let be. I still have the receipt, 4 digits, and 4 of us in that car. And I've never found any explanation that makes both of those true by accident. Some nights I wonder what those men were actually counting, and whether the count was ever supposed to come out different than it did. And some nights I just think about how calm that man's face was when he raised his hand to us, like he already knew we'd be back through, like he'd been expecting it the whole time. A year after that conversation, Danny brought it up on his own, out of nowhere, over Thanksgiving dinner. He said he'd looked up old news archives at the library for his own reasons, not because I'd asked him to, and found a short item from 1999 about a missing traveler last seen filling up at a gas station on that same stretch of road, headed north, never reported arriving anywhere, no follow-up article, no resolution printed anywhere he could find. He said he almost didn't tell me because he didn't want to give the story an ending it hadn't earned. I understood exactly what he meant. I've thought a lot since then about the ordinary explanations. A fly-by-night toll operator running some kind of odd internal tracking system nobody bothered to explain. A gas station attendant who was simply protective of strangers passing through at night. Bored, unlisted men working an overnight shift, killing time by staring at anything that moved. I can make any one of those explanations work if I only think about one detail at a time. It's when I put them all together, the digits that matched us exactly, the truck's brake lights flashing like a signal down the road, the payphone swinging with no wind, the man's head turning slow and certain like he already knew, that I can't make any of it add up to something ordinary. We don't take back roads at night anymore. Not since Kessler Pike, not since a toll booth that, as far as anyone official was ever willing to admit, barely existed at all.